Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Well, many see charter change as a solution to the country's economic shortcomings, despite existing liberalization laws. Let's now have an exchange with constitutionalist Edwin Lacierda. Edwin, thank you so much for joining us. Do we really need changes in the Constitution in terms of the economic provisions?
Honestly, I don't think we need to, because under this administration, under previous administrations, we have really liberalized many of the economic activities that were deemed outside of foreign intervention. At least we open it up. And in fact, the recent example of the Public Service Act really just opened up a number of industries to foreign businesses. So it's not a cure-all. If everybody expects that the economic provisions, when amended, will cure the difficulties in whatever difficulties that they perceive, I don't think so. We can cure it by way of legislation.
All right, it's not only the Public Services Act, Edwin, that has been amended. You also have the Foreign Investment Act and the Trade Liberalization Act. But it seems like despite the amendments, despite opening up more sectors to foreign investors, foreign direct investments has shown the numbers that we're still at the bottom of the heap in Southeast Asia.
Which goes to show that perhaps it's not the Constitution that needs to be amended, but certain policies. For instance, like we were very clear during our time, during the term of former President Aquino, Benigno Aquino, there were only two principles that we were guided. The first one is the predictability of rules. You don't change horses midstream. Once someone invests, the expectation is the same rules that propelled them to invest will be the same rules that will govern the entire investment period. The other thing is a level playing field. And these are the core principles that President Aquino really insisted. And not to say that there were no discussions during our time. There were no overt activity politically to amend the Constitution, but there were certainly discussions also within the cabinet on whether do we need to amend the provisions of the Constitution. And the proof that we were doing so well, in fact, in our time, it reached 7%. GDP reached 7%, which shows proof that you don't have to amend the Constitution.
7% GDP, what about foreign direct investments? Because from 2022 to 2023, under the Marcos administration, despite all of these foreign trips and tens of billions of dollars in pledges, foreign direct investment numbers still declined.
Because also another principle in governance where foreign investors looked at is what we call good transparency and good governance.
And the ease of doing business.
And the ease of doing business.
Of course, during the Aquino administration, there was also a push for private-public partnership, which is, of course, now being implemented as well by this administration. But give us an example, Edwin. Year on year, during the 6-year term of President Noynoy Aquino, what was the rise in terms of foreign direct investments compared to our neighbors?
Well, I don't have the figures then, but all I know is that we were after I think the second year of our administration, when the world saw that President Aquino was dead serious about promoting transparency and good governance, foreign investments came in, and also the other thing is our GDP went straight up. There are a number of policies internally also. One, we tried to shorten the capture of the budget within this whole. If you remember the whole idea of the disbursement acceleration program, that was a very controversial issue. But the whole idea is, instead of declaring savings at the year end, if there's any project midstream which is not working, let's just declare them as savings. And we were able to use the budget there, the money designed for another project that wasn't working, to good use. But then the Supreme Court said that it was unconstitutional, not criminal, but unconstitutional.
From your current reading of the landscape for charter change, particularly economic provisions, do you think it will now materialize with these intramurals and this fight between the Senate and the lower house? Because before the senators signed the manifesto against the push for a people's initiative, Senate President Mig Zubiri filed a resolution proposing amendments to the charter's economic provisions.
The push being done by the House is strictly political. Because although everyone starts with we need to amend the economic provisions, that's a good start. I mean, in a way people will not get angry about it.
So it's just being used as a front
it has always been used as a front. In any push to amend the Constitution, they've always started with, let's amend the economic provisions of the country because they say it's outdated. But look, during the time of President Aquino, even during the time of President Duterte, our numbers rose up. And during this time also, you can see that why do you need to amend the Constitution if our numbers are going up? Because there are certain principles that they are observing, ease of doing business, liberalization, transparency, and good governance, can add up without, it can improve the numbers, can improve foreign direct investment, even without amending the Constitution.
In your point of view, are we seeing these three important factors playing out for investors to come into the country? Ease of doing business, transparency, and good governance.
The most difficult, I think, is the ease of doing business. But there have been significant improvements already. But that's the hard part because your deal in government, it's not a monolithic whole. You have to deal with the national government. You have to deal with the local government. So for instance, just to give an example of the permitting process for the telcos, the towers, it used to be I got a briefing somewhere around more than 60 permits. Now it has been reduced to 4.
And of course, another major red flag in doing business in the Philippines is corruption.
That's a big problem. And
And it hasn't been resolved.
You know, we have grown so insensitive to that. Whenever you talk about government, the first thing that they see, the people would say, any government is the same, they're all corrupt. The mindset of Filipinos is that we have a corrupt government, but we can prove that wrong by making sure that we walk the talk. We also joined during our time the Open Government Partnership, which was started by President Barack Obama. And we really practice open government, meaning transparency and accountability. We are still a member of Open Government Partnership, but those are principles there that we can use. And to the credit of President Marcos, there's really attempts to really be transparent, but that's a big problem because of the different chambers of branches of government.
And of course, previous administrations, there have been talk, a lot of moves to change the Constitution. Do you think that this administration will succeed in 2024?
There's a novel attempt right now, doing the People's Initiative. However, the People's Initiative touched on a very seemingly harmless provision, which is changing the voting structure from jointly and separately. In the eyes of the many, that's very harmless. But when you go to the brass tacks, when you go and it will go up to the Supreme Court because obviously the Senate and the House will not agree. On that front, the House proponents will face an obstacle before the Supreme Court. And after assuming that you got that passed, you change the Constitution, what now then are the fundamental provisions that you wanted amended? We are not there yet. We are not there yet. So once they lay down the provisions that they want to amend, political, economic, then there's another thing, referendum.
I'll put you in the spot. Yes or no, we're going to see charter change in 2024?
In terms of final?
Yes, final.
No.
No. Thank you so much, Edwin, for this constitutional law exchange. Constitutionalist Edwin Lacierda joining us on the exchange. And straight ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business, how would foreign chambers take action if economic charter change pushes through? The American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines joins us next here on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust.